ripple effects and reactions continue to trail in the market following President Tinubu's fuel subsidy statement. The NNPCL announced jackup in the price of fuel. We'll be getting some experienced views on this matter tonight. And the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, today conduct national elections where Sly Eze-Okenwa emerged as the new national chairman of the party. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Okimaloye in Abuja. Now, it might be Monday that President Bola Tinubu made mention that subsidy is gone. But then it's 2 days after, and there are so much consequence that have followed that statement. Jack up in the price of petrol and a lot of attendant consequences that have followed. But we'll be discussing and getting some insight from a former governor who can also give us insight on how to manage cost of governance in Nigeria, managing the resources that are available. Sometimes you need some of this kind of experience to know the way forward. Let's tell you that also APGA had his election. I mean, you know, APGA has always had this legal tussle about his national leadership. So they have a new national chairman, Sly Eze-Okenwa. Is this, or could this be the end to all of these legal troubles? We'll be finding out for him at some point on the program also. So stick around with me, everyone. Let's first and foremost let you know that it appears that the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, may have emerged as the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. Today, his counterpart from Yobe State, Mr. Maimala Buni, introduced him as the new chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum. Governor Buni made the introduction when he led a team of the APC governors to a visit to the party's national secretariat in Abuja, the nation's capital. The governors met with the National Working Committee of the party, chaired by the APC National Chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu.
Things we thought would, express our desire to have you take steps to ensure that you fill the vacuum that was created with the exit of your predecessors' leadership of the Progressive Governors Forum. And as God will have it, you took care of the problem, if it was a problem at all. You filled in the vacuum before this meeting with us. It's our hope and prayer that God will continue to guide you in all that you will be doing in administering our people.
Under my watch, we will be very close to the time. The purpose of the forum is to add impetus to the activities of the party and the government. We're only going to act assessment that will market the policies and programs of government.
Well, you heard the national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and Governor Hope Uzodinma, the new chairman of the APC Governors Forum. They call him the Progressive Governors Forum. Well, before I get talking with my guests on the program tonight, let's check some of your political roundup stories.
The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has adjourned the hearing on the petition filed by the Labour Party to June 1. This follows a petition of the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, on the grounds of the health of two of their staff at the party secretariat. Counsel to Mr. Peter Obi and the Labour Party, Awa Kalu, made this known at the resumed hearing of the case, calling for an adjournment to June the 1st for continuation. Counsel to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Abubakar Mahmood, did not oppose the call for an adjournment, but stated that it should be on record that the party had lost 1 day to call its witnesses. The party has 49 more witnesses to call, while the PDP is yet to call a witness but has tendered all its exhibits before the court. The bill on gender and equality has passed a second reading in the Senate. The bill, which has been renamed the Gender and Equality Opportunities Bill, seeks to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women and people living with disabilities. According to the sponsor of the bill, Senator Biodun Olujimi, if enacted into law, the proposed legislation will encourage women to aspire and reach their full potentials. The member representing Pankshin, Kanke and Kanam Federal Constituency of Plateau State, Honorable Yusuf Gaji, says he's still much in the race for the speakership position of the House of Representatives and is not ready to step down for anyone. The lawmaker told journalists in Jos that it is unfair on the part of the ruling party to ignore the North Central in the choice of the leadership of the Green Chambers.
In matter of principle and fairness, why can't the same enablement be given to the North Central, since the speakership is zoned to the Northern Nigeria?
The governor of Taraba State, Mr. Abu Kefas, has dissolved the 16 local government caretaker committee chairmen of the state. The governor in a press statement asked that they hand over government properties in their possession to the head of local government administrations in their respective councils. The dissolution is with immediate effect. Meanwhile, the governor has made his first appointments of chief protocol officer and chief press secretary. 2 days after his inauguration as executive governor of Kaduna State, Senator Uba Sani has held the first security meeting with heads of security agencies in the state. The meeting, which held behind closed doors, has in attendance the Kaduna State Commissioner of Police, the State Director of Department of State Security Services, the Controller of Immigration Service, the representatives of the General Officer commanding 1 Mechanized Division, Air Force and Navy.
We try as much as possible to support the security agencies, but at the same time engage the citizens so that they will also have the confidence and believe in the effort and work that's being put together by the various security agencies. I'm saying that they're doing very.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. So more reactions and more shock effects have been experienced now. And they keep emerging following the statement of President Bola Tinubu on Monday at his inauguration as Nigeria's president. He said that subsidy is gone. Today, the Nigerian National Petrol Company, the NNPCL Limited, has confirmed the hike in the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. Few queues have since resurfaced across the country since the presidential pronouncement. Nigerians are now buying the product, which is now being sold from around 400 naira per litre to as high as 600 naira a litre. The NNPC spokesperson, Mr. Garabadin Mohammed, in a statement released earlier today, says the price of the essential commodity has been adjusted to its retail outlets nationwide, but he did not mention a specific amount. He said the price per litre of petrol will now continue to fluctuate to reflect market dynamics. Meanwhile, the federal government has been meeting with leaders of the Nigerian Labour, and we understand the chief of the head of service and some top government officials are meeting with the leaders of Labour. We understand that meeting is ongoing at the presidential villa in Abuja. We'll bring you up to speed with the outcome of that meeting, basically on this issue. Well, President Bola Tinubu has met with the chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Abdurrashid Bao, although he did not say what the meeting was all about when he emerged from the meeting. But also we understand that the president also met with the MD of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mr. Mele Kyari. This is perhaps not the best of times in Nigeria for several reasons. Someone told me on this program that what a tough time to say you want to lead a country or any state in Nigeria because of the situation of dwindling resources and the complexity of some of the challenges the country is facing at the moment, where the time requires care and strategic approach to governance. And so tonight, I have joining me a two-time governor of Kano State and a former minister, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau. He's joining us live here in Abuja studio. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Shane. It's a pleasure being here once again.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
It does look to me like these few subsidy matter is as long as some of the problems that we've been facing in this country from the days of the military.
Yeah.
And the subsidy matter shook some government because it became a very troubling and nagging problem that was difficult to deal with. Remove or not remove is a disaster, a problem on its own. But what the president said on Monday, do you think it was a right decision?
Well, thank you very much, Sheun. I think it is most unfortunate that this issue of subsidy has been on for decades. And unfortunately, none of the governments, whether military or civilian, had the courage, if I may say, to really face it head on. We've been hearing different stories. Some are saying subsidy is necessary to cushion the effect of inflation. Some are saying no, the beneficiaries are the top people, top rich people, and it's an opportunity to take away the fuel out of Nigeria to our neighboring countries. I think the only thing that probably triggers the last 48 hours response is perhaps the way Mr. President said it. If I were him, you see, the immediate past government of Buhari has made it clear to the country that they have planned to remove the subsidy, and they have advanced a number of reasons. If I were Tinubu, I would have referred to that this has been in the process. And we were not objecting to the process. We're going to study it. We're going to see all the implications and ensure that we remain on track as to what is going on. But the way he said it in the military way, subsidy is gone. Naturally, I think the reaction nationwide is not totally unexpected. And immediately the filling stations were shut down, and a couple of hours ago, NNPC came out with the details that the hike in price has to really come on board. Another problem, Shevin, is that I think most of the governments have not been carrying the labor along with the government. Once the government moves forward on this subsidy, the labor comes up biting hard. Government seemed to back out. With all the criticisms, the challenges, and one of the labor leaders was saying a couple of hours ago that in the past, whenever they meet with the government listens to them and they give them reasons, and government back out. So I think what Tinubu has now, Mr. President, is damage control situation. To come out with the explanations, reasons, the wisdom, and so I think the public relations of the government has to do quite a lot to carry the public along.
I mean, unfortunately, there isn't that structure just yet. The only two people we know in this government today is the president and his vice president. So it might be a tough few days for them to manage this, the effect of these. But like you said, the communication and the strategy aspect of it has to be properly managed. But then a lot of people will say, it's the devil in the detail of the subsidy management. The problem. And those who have done the mathematics will tell you that 400 billion naira being spent on subsidy every month. He's like a man who spends more than his salary every month. He knows that he's going to be in trouble someday.
Absolutely.
And NPC is saying, you are owing us, federal government. For the last few months, you are not able to pay. So in that sense, it's a matter of time. It would have to go. But there are those who also say that there are a lot of people who are playing a lot of racket in all of this. There are those who are benefiting more than the Nigerian people. But if you were President Tinubu, since he made that statement, and we are seeing these shocks and this reaction to it, no palliatives, no remedy for all of the effects that have come, what would you be doing now?
No, I think, unfortunately, he has let the cat out of the bag. He has made the statement. You cannot withdraw it. That's why I said it is now a period of damage control. Even though his cabinet is not in place, he has not made most of the appointments, but I think, knowing him very well, he must have had the backyard people who have given him all the various analyses of the economy before he comes into the race of being the president. So I think he really needs to go back to the drawing board. Unfortunately, it will take us longer time now to negotiate, to talk. The labor organizations are already making a lot of noise. You remember, Shane, President Buhari, before he came on board, was saying subsidy is thievery, is a lie, and so on. But here we were. He spent 8 years, instead of removing subsidy, instead of bringing out the truth as to who are the beneficiaries of the subsidy, he ended up paying more and more and higher money.
You remember when Senator Saraki on the floor of the Senate raised that matter about this subsidy and the racketeering? Yes. That's, I mean, a few people, a few billionaires in Nigeria are benefiting from it, and they're reaping the poor on it and using the emotion that the poor will feel the effect.
Absolutely.
But where do we go from here now? We have a Dangote refinery, and we might be seeing production coming out of that refinery in August. But between now, end of June, which legally the subsidy would have to terminate. Legally speaking, and August, when we might be seeing local product, because one of the major problems is the issue of the FX, the importation, taking crude out and bringing refined product into the country. Those differentials are a major problem. What do we do? What would you advise the government to be doing right now?
I think my advice, Sean, is that one, they should really manage the public relations first of all. Try to address the Nigerian agitation, try to come up with cogent explanation as to why this has to be done at the moment, and also come up with all the so-called palliatives and give Nigerians all the assurances that with the Dangote refinery coming on board, and probably face assuring Nigeria as to what are you doing to bring on board, to bring back to function our refineries that have become moribund. So I think, honestly, I pity the situation Mr. President found himself. It's most unfortunate his first cup of tea is the management of the crisis that came out of his outburst of subsidy is gone. I think it's very serious damage control, but I have every hope that they will be able to contain the situation. I understand they're already discussing with the labor leaders, and they're likely to come out with some decisions. I really pity him finding himself in such a very quagmire. We knew that removal of subsidy was on its way. The government of Buhari said quite a lot of it. We've discussed this right on the days of the petroleum industry bill. A lot of it was discussed, and there was some kind of consensus generally that subsidy has to go. And if we really want to be on the right track to identify the correct price, let the market dictate what it is. And then another problem, saying, is manning our borders, because this fuel will find its way out of the country, but perhaps with the appropriate pricing now, the removal of our fuel out of the country through the borders will probably be a thing of the past. Buying it cheaper and selling it at a very high cost just across the border. I think I will advise that the president put in place, even if it is behind the scenes, since he has not made any appointments yet, but I believe he must have the right people sitting back there to come up with what Nigerians will accept as a very good reason for such an abrupt decision. The way it was said is what caused all of this.
I mean, I imagine that, you understand how government structure works. Politically speaking, we have two men who are at the helm of affairs in this government that we know, President Bola Tinubu and VP Kashim Shettima. But there are those agencies like NAITI, There are those in the Ministry of Labor.
That's right.
There are those in the NNPC that should be coming out to explain it to Nigerians.
Absolutely.
These are government officials. Federal government is not just two people. These are people also who run the daily affairs of government.
In fact, the bureaucracy is there. The bureaucrats are there. Whether or not he has ministers in place, that is immaterial. All the agencies you mentioned are already there, and they must be brought on board to put on the table.
I mean, you being in the APC, and I'm imagining that you perhaps would have been in the close circle, assuming you were there. Did you regret leaving the APC now that your party lost the election?
No. I have never had any regrets, because you only have regrets if you don't have good reason for taking any action, for doing what you do. We had reasons for doing what we did, and we have no regret. You see, it's a matter of time. These are games of chance, and it's a matter of time. You go back to drawing board, you look at the antecedents, you look at what causes this, what causes A, what causes B, and you move forward.
Do you think maybe you might return home to the APC?
No. I think
with all of the differences that you had, the election, governorship election is over in the state. There is a political party. You still have a lot of friends in the APC.
Of course.
Is it possible?
No. You see, I have friends in almost all the political parties.
So returning to the APC is not a possibility?
No. I don't think at the moment we are giving that as a matter of consideration. I'm a PDP man and a loyal member of the PDP, and we are already in court. And when all these court processes are finished, we go back to drawing board and look forward to what next. We are not losing hope. Yeah.
Let me take you back to, we'll go back to some politics later, but let me get you back. I'm just imagining that you probably, as a leader, you probably would have a role to play in this. You've been a cabinet member. You ran Kano State twice.
That's right.
So you probably will have a lot of insight. But give us an understanding. As someone who has played in that tough, there seems to be a problem of revenue. The federal government under President Buhari has said that much. And the debt burden in Nigeria is in trillions.
Quite high.
And a lot of people who would blame the cost of governance. If there is a way to cut cost of governance, what would that be?
Well, you see, Shevin, unfortunately, I pity people in place of leadership at the current dispensation. You see, my mentor, Professor Fafunwa, used to describe education as a bottomless pit. I now want to say that governance in Nigeria is a bottomless pit. You have sea of problems, demands, but very limited resources. And I think the earlier we look inwards, the better. One area that a lot of people have been making a lot of noise about it is our mineral resources. We are not tapping that, and it's a responsibility squarely of the federal government as per our constitution. Is not a state matter. And a lot of these, I wonder what the ministries of solid minerals and science and technology are doing, but I think we need to hike our challenge in that area. Relying on the oil, even though people are jumping now, we are discovering many more oil wells in some other country, in some other part of the country. The recent one in, Gombe, Bauchi axis, and on and on. I think we should not go to sleep on that. We should look inwards. It's a very serious challenge to all the state governments and the federal government as well. Many states are not able to pay salaries at the moment. And I wonder how you can continue to run a government.
I'm going to get to that point because the fact emerging is that about 17 or so of the newly elected governors might be inheriting nothing less than 2.1 trillion of domestic debt.
Absolutely.
And about $1.9 billion in foreign debt. And this is in no measure that anyone who cannot find its feet out of these governors quickly might be having problems.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And I'm going to come to how one can deal with this kind of situation for someone who had governed Kano State. But for the central government, if there are areas to cut governance, which areas would you be suggesting that the federal government should be looking into cutting cost of governance?
Well, I think I have been subscribing to the idea of devolution of powers. You see, the federal government should really cut its own cost by devolving a lot of these responsibilities down the line to the states and to the local government. We are spending so much at the center and creating too many agencies and parastatals. And unfortunately, we've not had leadership that has the courage. There was the Orisanya report during the Jonathan time, which is yet to be implemented. Jonathan did not implement it, Buhari did not implement it. To really, there is so many...
The civil service structure.
The duplication of agencies, duplication of parastatals, most of which can be 2, 3, 4 parastatals if you look at their own duties and their own laws. You find a lot of similarities that can be reduced back to departments instead of having, the moment you create a parastatal, you're already talking of board members, chief executive, directors, departments, and the overhead cost of running all these agencies add quite a lot to the expenses of running government. Quite all right, nobody is doubting the fact that the government of Nigeria is quite an expensive process. And I think we have the challenge. And I think probably looking into the restructuring, as many call it, and many people have different definitions of restructuring, but my own understanding is that we should look inwards and reduce cost of governance by reducing the duplication of assignments, duplication of agencies, over 500, 600 parastatals in government. This is quite unacceptable.
Governor Shekarau, could the National Assembly, which some Nigerians are paying for, you and your colleagues, those who are of the view that you guys get so much money that the nation cannot afford, can the country continue to afford that kind of cost of running a bicameral legislature? And of course, in fact, the day-to-day running is not only the money that goes into the pocket of the senators or the House of Reps members.
The staffing, you see, left to me, honestly, we don't need to have the two chambers, the two houses. Is costing the country quite a lot. I agree. Democracy means getting as many involved as possible. But the way it is going on now, with almost 500 legislators nationwide, I don't think we really need this much at the moment. I wonder whether we'll have the courage to do all the constitutional amendments and go through the process and reduce all of this. That's one. Number two, the number of the legislators, of course, if you look at it vis-a-vis the number of the agencies to be supervised, the number of parastatals for the oversight assignments, if you reduce the agencies, you reduce the parastatals, and you reduce the burden at the center and devolve all of this, then you will discover that the legislative arm will also have to be downloaded. Because if there isn't much to do at the center, you don't need all of this sea of hundreds of people really to do the oversighting assignment.
Yeah, I'm just hoping this is a very strong political might that the present government, the current, the new government needs to look into, and hoping that they might have that courage, like you said.
Well, I pray they will.
We're chewing more than we can bear. And that takes me to the state.
Yeah.
The expectations on these governors is going to be very huge. And I mentioned earlier, over 2 trillion naira of domestic debt in some of these 17 states and billions of dollars in foreign debt. How much of a trouble do you think some of these governors
Well, honestly, Sharon, it is a very huge burden. But I think, if I may advise, the number one step is to be sincere and honest. Let the governor be frank and tell his states the situation he finds on ground. in terms of finances, in terms of all the demands. For 8 years, I never took any loan, even for ₦1.
In Kano State?
No, we never did. I came out and told Kano people, if your money, if the resources we are able to get is 10 million, we give you services for 10 million. And people understood it. And secondly, we must plug all the areas of corruption. The areas of wastages has to be addressed. And I think any governor that is bold enough to explain. And if you allow yourself to get carried away with all the high expectations in terms of all the infrastructure required, the demands in education, in agriculture, in roads, in health, and many others, you'll discover that in the end, you may probably want to take more loans to satisfy these demands. But I think that will be a very wrong approach, because you'll be adding to the burden of the debt. I expect, and my advice to the governors is that they should be honest, sincere, and frank to the people of their state. Tell them the state of the situation they found on ground, and assure them that it's going to give judicious management of their resources, no matter how little. Otherwise, we'll keep on taking loans and loans and loans and overburdening generations yet unborn.
I mean, there was a time that, I mean, very popular. I mean, it's easy for people to say, oh, the granite pyramid in the north, the cocoa in the south, and all of that. Yeah. Those who have clamored for regional economic competition in this country, do you see the possibility of that happening? Are the governors creative enough to be able to say, in my own state, this is what we are bringing to the center, this is what we are donating, this is what we are taking outside of the country to earn effects? Well,
Sean, it is very unfortunate. You see, in the days of the regional government, you're talking of the groundnut pyramid. It wasn't groundnut of Kano alone. We used to have the Northern Nigeria Marketing Board that was buying the groundnut from Gusau, from Sokoto, from Katsina, from Kano, and all over the place. And it was the government that moves out to help the farmers. They find the market for them. They help them to do the farming, mass production, and the process was working. I think even without going back to the regional governments, one of the challenges we have, and it has been a very painful thing that I am concerned with, no two states in Nigeria are working together.
What about Lagos and Kebbi?
In spite of well, that is one area of a very good example. What I'm saying is that, you see, if you take the commonality of the states around, take Kano and Jigawa, or Kano and Katsina, or Kaduna, or Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, the terrain is the same, the agricultural land is the same, the season is the same, and if only some of these states, 2, 3, 4 states that have almost everything in common will come together and create a common agency, identify 2, 3, 4 areas of commonality and agree to address them. That will probably see us in a very long way. What we do experience is that governors will travel out to advertise what they do, but when you go to big farmers outside of this country, you find that you're only talking of the thousands of hectares in your state. If you take one particular product, either the cocoa or the groundnut you're talking about, if only all the states that are producing this will get together and will form a common central agency that will identify such an item. When you go out to solicit for investors, you'll be talking big. Instead of, if I go as a state, I'll be talking of my own state, hectares of land. Kaduna will be talking of his own hectares of land. Maybe Katsina will be talking of different hectares of land. But if probably you can take, for example, Kano, Jigawa, Kaduna, Katsina, in that axis, and the 3, 4, 5
focus on a
particular
commodity and make big deal out of it, make a lot of money.
Yes, if you go out to talk to an investor outside, he will not be asking you if you say millions of hectares. He won't say where is the location of the millions of hectares, because he's talking to one particular agency that owns all these hectares. you'll be getting very
the Southwest
big,
has the Odua investment company, which they have a joint interest in that. Maybe, I mean, I don't know how much of...
But is it working well?
And there is a Dawn Commission, but that's the question.
That's right.
How much is coming out of those endeavors? Let's take a break, Your Excellency, and I'll come to get your final thought on some of your final moment on the program, because these governors are receiving security votes. Those security votes being used or embezzled? What did you use yours for when you were Kano governor? We'll take a moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Plus, Mr. Sly Ezeokenwa, the new national chairman of APGA, is standing by for us on the program from Awka, the Anambra State capital, and will be speaking with us just after we finish our conversation with former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, two-term governor of Kano State and a former minister of education, has been talking with us on the program tonight. Our closing moments with him now. There are a lot of people who have their eyes on how governors spend security votes. In your days, do you account for it? Is it a money that is accounted? Because, I mean, the belief is that those monies are slush funds that doesn't really need so much of detailed accounting.
Well, honestly, anytime I hear about security vote, I just laugh, because it has been so overflowed that people think that the governor has a particular basket of money unaccounted for in the name of security vote. In my government of 8 years, I've never had anything like security vote. One, there is no law anywhere that says 1 naira is not subjected to budgeting, 1 naira is not subjected to auditing.
So is security votes appropriated for?
Of course, this has to be every money has to. If I may give you an example,
okay.
I used to have a vote that I call for special services. Of course, there are challenges of different dimensions. It is the governor and his government that will determine, just as you do anticipation in any budget planning, that I put X naira for this, Y naira for this, T naira for that. You determine what vote you are going to have to address what you may call unforeseen challenges, security challenges, and what I call in my government special services. We do the budgeting, it's very clear, it goes to the assembly, it is approved. It is not monies that some governors, as I come to understand, they dedicate a particular size of funds that must be brought every month or every week and so on. It's not so. You mention whatever you want to do. You may not give all the details of the security challenges that you want to address. There will be money, of course, set aside to address unexpected challenges, including security challenges. And this money must be budgeted for, must be accounted for. For 8 years, I have audit certificate of all my security and special services.
So is it possible for agencies of government to start probing governors who left office and how they use the security votes?
In fact, even without waiting for any new government to probe it, it's part of the due process.
But why is it not usually
the state assembly?
Why is the governors? Why don't they open up on state? The money spent on security.
In fact, I don't see any reason why it should be hidden, because it's subject to oversight by the State Assembly. If I may give you a very quick example. 2 weeks ago, the National Assembly Committee on Security and Intelligence paid a visit to the NIA, National Intelligence Agency, one of the highest agencies of security of intelligence in Nigeria. We were there, the committee was there, and we went to see their books. They had to lay all the details, what money was appropriated for them, how did you spend it, and so on. We are not asking what details of security operations but the details of what was spent on ABCD must be there. So if only the state assemblies are doing their job oversight, there is no vote, no money that is being budgeted for that the state assembly has or the National Assembly hasn't the right to run oversight to check and ask. Unfortunately, this is not being done, and the impression is being created, there is security vote, there is money. You spend such provisions as issues arise.
All right. Your Excellency, just in 30 seconds, the situation about the Kano Emirate, and we are hearing that there might be some. What are your views about what is going on in Kano?
Well, I have been reading, just like any other person reading. You see, unfortunately, I am a member of the Emirate Council, a member of the Council as Sardonan Kano. I know how revered the traditional institution is, and unfortunately, we are moving to a very dangerous trend of over-politicizing such a revered, respected institution. We always call them fathers of the land and fathers of the people. Anytime there were crises, you all know, even during the military regime, they ran to the traditional institutions, call upon your people, talk to them, people listen to them. One thing that I know, for example, in our community, up till today, people respect such an institution. If there are crises in the wars, in the villages, they go to the traditional institutions. But
so do you see any form of clash happening now? I
only pray the government will see reason and wisdom. Two wrongs don't make a right. And the way it is happening now, unfortunately, we are rubbishing our history, ridiculing them. You can imagine a whole revered emir of Kano being booed, being stoned. What history are you telling people, the young generation? It's unfortunate, most unfortunate. I only pray things will get better.
Senator Abraham, thank you so much. Senator Abraham Shekarau, former governor of Kano and former minister, sitting senator. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Sitting senator of the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Another senator of NNPP.
No. On the basis of morality, I said no.
So you stepped up.
No. I don't take what I'm no longer in NNPP, and therefore it is morally wrong for me to take. No, I won't take it.
But you are still friends with Konkonso?
Oh, very well. We are very good friends. Right. When you see us talking and clapping hands, you think that we never disagree. We disagree on a number of political issues, but that does not mean we are fighting, we are enemies. We are very good friends, inshallah.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much.
There's still so much to talk about. There's still a lot of issues.
Certainly. I wouldn't mind.
I still have Mr. Sly Ezeokenwa, the brand new national chairman of the All Progressive Grand Alliance in Awka. How brand new are you? How confident are you with all what is happening in your party? Is one party that has faced a lot of litigation. Did I hear Mr. Victor Oye say that your party has seen almost 100 litigation in the past years? Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. If you recall, this was what started from even the administration of Chief Senator Victor Ume. Every now and then we have some very minor incursions into the leadership of the party, one way or the other. I don't know why APGA seems to be a very attractive political party for them to, vent all manner of mischief on the leadership of the party. So, thank God for today. After 8 years in office, Chief Victor Oye was able to hand over the reins of power to me today and the new leadership of the National Working Committee of APGA.
How would you describe the election that brought you into office? Names were being called, you people marched in front, then you were now pronounced as the new leadership of the party, you took the oath of office. There are those who will criticize and say that in itself was not a proper election. But how do you respond to that?
Well, for anybody to say that, what that person will be speaking from the standpoint of ignorance, and I say that boldly. For elections to offices in the National Working Committee, and not just the National Working Committee, all levels of the party, from the ward executives, the local government executive, to to the state executive, and then ultimately the National Working Committee, the constitution of APGA, which is the ultimate document that binds every member of APGA, specifies two modes of election, is either by consensus or by balloting. So if at the end of the nomination process, only one person, so we say regarding uncontested offices, it shall be by affirmation or by voice vote. So when the offices are uncontested, it's very simple. You have an affirmation or a voice vote. So anybody who is saying that that was not a proper election, of course, is even there in the Electoral Act. If at the end of the nomination process, only one candidate or only one person picks from only one political party, nominates a candidate for a particular elective office, what are you supposed to do?
But in that
under
sense,
the Electoral Act, you have a yes or no vote.
Yes, so in that sense, there are those who will contest and say, yes, there is the option of consensus, because by the Electoral Act of 2022, it now provides for three kind of election: direct, indirect, and consensus. Under the consensus, there are also procedures in which a consensus candidate must emerge. That any other person...
That one is for primary.
Primary, yes, but
that one is for primary
in case of party election.
I'm talking about election to, in case of party election, first of all, you talk about APGA constitution. Because under section, first of all, you know, under section 222 and then 223 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that makes elaborate provisions on political parties. It says that a political party, one of the essential documents a political party must have is a constitution. And that constitution must be domiciled in the regulatory body, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission. So it is that document that binds the members of that political party, including all the various organs, all the various stratas of the political party. And it is that document that specifies the mode of election. So when that document, which is the constitution of APGA, says you can have your election, you can elect your officers, either by balloting when the offices are contested, or by affirmation or vice vote when the offices are non-contested. Then,
I know you're a lawyer too.
Provisions of the Constitution.
I know you're a lawyer. I know you're a lawyer too. So, I see that your energy just suddenly rose when it comes to issue of law. But I know you are a sitting commissioner for special duties under the Governor Soludo administration. How do you hope to manage that? Does the Constitution or the laws of your party allow you to be a national chairman of the party and also be a political appointee or a commissioner?
Incidentally, that takes us again to Article 25 of the APGA Constitution regarding holding of dual offices. Of course, for me to hold dual office, it must be approved expressly by the National Convention, and that did not happen. So automatically, I'm no longer a commissioner. I put in my resignation.
All right. So in that sense also, there are, I don't know if you are hearing what the other, I'm going to ask you. Well. No, I'm even saying what those who do not want you to emerge, or those who do not agree with your emergence, are saying that you are Governor Soludo's pseudo in the national office of the party. They call you Soludo's boy. And that Soludo has imposed his own boy to be the national chairman of APGA. How do you respond to your critics of that?
Well, that would be very funny. You know, if you listen to the governor when he was reading his speech or his address to the National Convention today, he specified the fact that this is the first time we are having someone who the blood of APGA flows through his veins as the national chairman of the party. A very young person. I joined APGA as an undergraduate in 2002 upon the formation of APGA. Then my own father was a local government party chairman. So it is something that runs in the family, and I've remained a member of the party from 2002 till date. So today is 21 years of me being a member of APGA. So it was very natural for the National Convention to say, oh, we need to go for someone who is experienced. We need to go for someone who knows the history of the party. We need to go for someone who understands the various challenges facing the party in this modern time. And we need to go with the trend. And what is the trend? The trend is that the emerging narrative in Nigeria now is that there is increasing youth consciousness towards political activities. Of course, you saw what happened during the last election. if you analyze the mode of casting of votes by the various sections of the society, you find out that over 60% or 70% were people aged between 18 years and 40 years. And so what APGA has decided to do is to innovate. Because if you don't innovate, you die off. So anybody can say anything and say you're Soludos, but yes, of course, I am a commissioner serving under the government and I've been in the party. I served as a state legal advisor from 2015 to 2019, just one term, and the party decided in their wisdom they elect me as the national legal advisor. I served again from 2019 till now.
So let me quickly, because we don't have so much time here. So what would be your own plan? What is your agenda for APGA?
First of all, if you listen to my acceptance speech today, I said it very expressly. We coined a pseudonym called Drive. Of course, what we'll launch today is what we call the Project Drive APGA. And what does it mean? DRIVE. First of all, we want to instill discipline in the party, instill discipline in the manner of doing things, instill discipline in the manner of people trying to adhere strictly with the provisions of the constitution of the party, instill discipline in the manner the various organs of the party will relate with each other. And then we have the repositioning. We want to reposition APGA as a political party that is conscious of the emerging trend in new Nigeria, which is the youth consciousness, the youth awareness. The next one is... Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just going to close on the point of asking, and this is a straightforward question. Have you reached out to Edozie, Njoku, and the other side who are not happy?
Definitely. I'm very happy you asked that question. One, under my leadership, I'm trying as much as possible. Of course, you will listen to when I paid glowing tributes to our heroes past. I know Edozie Njoku very well. At least I know very well that at some point Edozie Njoku was the national vice chairman Southeast. I think on about the time APGA was formed. So he's quite welcomed, you know. I'll reach out to him.
All right.
Of course. As far as I'm concerned, his major interest should be the survival of APGA.
All right.
And if he is interested, if he has a genuine love for this political party called APGA, then I extend my hand of fellowship to him.
All right.
I urge him and his followers to drop their shit and join us to move APGA to the next level.
Thank you so much. Sly Eze Okenwa. He says he's now a former commissioner of special duties in Anambra State and the brand new national chairman of, let me call it the way you guys call it, APGA. Congratulations on your emergence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate it. But the breaking news right here on Channels Television is that the meeting with the federal government and labor leaders has ended in a deadlock. You will be hearing more on that at the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Keep it locked down here on Channels Television. I'll see you tomorrow again. Bye-bye.